Just a second. He just stepped out of the room for a second, but he's coming right back. Hi, Lee. What's going on? Hi. Oh,
So
Steph.
people are joining, so that's good.
Yeah.
So it does say live. It no longer says connecting.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what I did that was different from you, if anything.
It
Okay,
is a strange thing, but
it appears that we're good.
yeah, we're going. We're going.
All
So,
right. Oh,
yeah,
fantastic. So let's see. You want to do a sound check with Lisa? We're okay. Hey Trey, are you hearing us okay? If you could let us know, that would be fantastic. I'm here with Shamananda, and we're rebooting what we started on another channel. So sound is good. Can you
yeah,
speak, Shamananda? Can you just say a few words so that people can sound check you as well?
absolutely. Hey, Trey, can you hear me too? That would be really cool if you could. I hope you can. Or anyone can answer. That's fine.
Hey Theo.
Can anyone hear me too? Or is it just. Oh, perfect. Thank you for
Awesome. Awesome.
answering. My gosh, I'm so excited to be here with all of you. I've been wanting to do this forever, and I've been wanting to do it with this man. So I'm very, very excited to be a part of this co-creation. And I have so many questions. And because we're kind of getting late into the game here, I'm hoping I can just dive in. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, let's go for it. A lot of people from my world may or may not know where you're coming from. So let's give some coordinates so people can go find you. You're Shamananda Lee. You have the Undistorted Radical Clarity Substack.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's shamananda.substack.com. And I highly recommend that. It's really fantastic, and it's just sort of getting started, and it's already amazing, and it's going to be incredible as time goes by. I have every confidence.
Oh,
So please check that out.
oh, thank you so much. It's been such an amazing experience to be on Substack. I feel like there's so many people that are on here that are so authentic and genuine and really do want to understand your work and just they love writing, and I love ideas and writing and concepts, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this community. So everyone's been very kind to me, and I'm very grateful. Except, there's been random angry people, but you get that anywhere. You'll go to the grocery store. You'll get that if somebody wants the same rump roast you do. So,
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, also, I mean, your stuff is going to trigger some people. It's very contrarian in a way, and I have the same problem slash distinction.
yes, of course, we would be in similar positions for sure, and I think that's why we're so aligned. And this is part of the reason why I adore you so much. So, I'm gonna ask you some questions. Let me know if this resonates with you here.
Alrighty.
So, yeah, so let's talk about alchemy. So, repurposing energy is what I do for a living. And in one of your recent publications, you mentioned alchematizing energy and changing whatever energy you have around you for your own personal fuel. So, this begs a discussion on the different types of energy in the world, how you would personally experience it, and how it can be utilized as a barometer to support others as they navigate their own experience of being overtaken by their own energy in a positive or a negative way, and how they subjugate themselves to the creations of others. So, what comes to mind is what you call simulation theory, a concept of us humanoids, as far as I understand it, living in a holographic matrix, and how our bodies are multidimensional in nature. On top of that, how it is only logical that our bodies are made up of condensed light, in my opinion, as well. Uh, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I know you talk about it often and in different ways, but one of the more fascinating ways you've mentioned is how people give their energy away to others at large events like concerts, for example. Oftentimes, this type of manufacturing of energy can be seen as nothing less than a way to siphon money from people, as we understand that ritual has long been used as a way to captivate the part of the human psyche that is creative by force to achieve a specific agenda, such as making money, for accumulating power, and so on and so forth. I believe you coined that type of energy disbursement as a ritual. Also, energetic leakages such as traumatic memories is an important factor to consider as well when deciding to realign yourself into congruency of self. Anyway, I'd love to hear you talk about it live. I agree that the energy of imagination is, in context, the bridge in many ways to tap into this type of kinetic force inside of ourselves, and I'm curious as to your thoughts and concepts on this subject.
Oh yeah, wow, that was a that should have been a little article. That was really cool. I was really digging what you were saying.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe maybe I should give people some context and maybe use some context as well for the order of my thought process and going uh, through some of these steps. The first thing I really became aware of years ago when I was sick and then I got well thanks to regenetics and potentiation. I realized that we are really powerful, energetic beings, and we can utilize energy and to for healing. That there's an interface between energy and our genetic structure and our chakras and our auric fields and all of these things. And I was looking at tons of psi and paranormal science, fringe science, looking at everything from kundalini to chi and prana and other other things, Kirlian photography. I mean, you name it. Looking at how we can substantiate that we do have a not just an electromagnetic field, this toroidal thing that often gets studied by certain scientists and other people like the Institute of Heart Math, but that beyond that we have a hyperdimensional subtle field that has been called the aura, and that's really to me where the magic happens, because that is the field that gives rise to our electromagnetic fields, and those sustain what we process as our physical being. So what's the ground of being, if you will, in our existence is actually the most subtle part of our anatomy, the most ephemeral, the most etheric. So I realized that actually we're kind of springing up out of nothingness and something is propelling that. And I theorized how sound and light, or sound and intention, or language actually gives rise to the world and our bodies. And those
Mhm.
same energies can be utilized to recreate the world and ourselves. So I was basically talking about the power of activated imagination to create worlds and experiences of so called reality, which are always just imagination experiments.
My God, that's so awesome. Please tell me more. I love where you're going with this. I'm foaming at the mouth.
So that was really really powerful to realize that the real doesn't exist. The real is always already a creation, is a thought experiment, is a flight of fancy that is somehow energized into being. And we do this on an individual level with our own lives. And as we grow in power, we can reinvent ourselves. And this gets into the alchemy question. We can reinvent ourselves in large, amazing ways. But on a more mundane level, it's how our society sustains itself. So where I went next in my evolution of thought from the regenetics model that I started with was the idea that the world that we come into contact with here, at least starting out, is a gigantic cult. So I wrote this book called The World, Cult, and You. And I defined a cult as, well, didn't really define it, but I described it as a system of harvesting human energy for
Mhm.
purposes other than our own. And I theorized that there was a being that some have called the demiurge, some have called the Lord Archon, devil, Satan, all kinds of names for it, that is the what I later called the fake architect of the matrix. This being can't really create, but it can get others to create for it because it can control their minds and it can make them believe and imagine things.
Wow, I love
And
this.
it can use that human energy to build its world. And what it's built is a gigantic loosh farm where it keeps the sheeple in little corrals, and those are cults. And then it shears them gradually over time for their entire lives.
And it will.
And takes their energy, the golden fleece. It takes their golden fleece gradually over time.
And what's the outcome?
The outcome is that the being sustains itself and a certain version of a world that's always in delicate disbalance because it uses the imbalance of the world, the idea that we are living on the edge of impending doom, apocalyptic narratives, truthers, and all of these types of forces to create emotional reactions in people that surge up their psychic energy, the power of their imagination, their mojo, their chi, and then they give that away, almost like an unconscious sacrifice to this being.
My brain is going in 10 different directions, and this is a really good thing. So,
So
because of this,
if I could continue the through thread just to go to the next place, and then maybe that'll help solidify this trajectory. So after the World Cult and You, I wrote a book last year called Get Out of Here Alive, and it's about inner alchemy and immortality, and it's an exploration of what you do when you turn away from the world cult. It's almost as if the World Cult and You was book one of a trilogy, and then Get Out of Here Alive was book two of that trilogy. And it was an examination of how you can actually repurpose the designs of the Archon and all of its activities for loosh harvesting in the world to your own purposes. You can take back that energy. You can take the Lord Archon's own energy for your own uses. And when you build up enough of that, it's possible to create within your body, in the kind of Dantian area, what has been called the Philosopher's Stone, which is a condensed, multidimensional energy module, a kind of little power plant that can allow you to create miracles. It can allow you to live longer, thus the all of the legends of alchemists. But it can also, and more importantly, allow you to choose your death on your own terms and step into your dream body with your consciousness intact, and then basically live forever.
which some people would call enlightenment and transcendence.
Some people would call that enlightenment and transcendence. A lot of people would not call that enlightenment. I'm sure Eckhart Tolle wouldn't, for example. But he has a kind of a mundane version of it. I always say that Get Out of Here Alive is the power of now on cosmic steroids. So when I finished putting that book out, I immediately had all of this other material that didn't find its way into Get Out of Here Alive, and I wrote Out Through the Indoor as an exclusive ebook over on my Substack at saulluckman.substack.com. And I sort of picked up the thread where I'd left off, and I looked at the nature of what we call the soul, the idea of the soul trap and the reincarnation trap, which I don't believe any of that exists. And I explained why. And I explored how to actually build your ideal dream body so that when you get ready to step in it, it's what you want to be in. So there's a lot of material in that ebook. In some ways, the ebook is more amazing, if I do say so myself, because I'm kind of amazed by a lot of these concepts, not the writing itself necessarily, but the concepts are so earth shattering. That ebook is almost more amazing than Get Out of Here Alive.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the first thing I'm going to do as soon as we hang up is read that entire thing. I'm personally going to go and read it.
Well,
because
the way you find that is you go over to my Substack, you look on the menu bar, and it says new ebook, and that's where it is.
well, I'm gonna be the very next person to buy it.
Well, it's actually it's an exclusive to my Substack. It's actually only available with a monthly or yearly paid subscription.
Aha. Yes, yes, yes. I think it's well worth it. I think it's well worth it. Um, and yes, not a problem. Absolutely. So, holy moly. I mean,
I
we
know that
just
was a bit of a rant, so I
no,
apologize.
no. This is what I wanted this to be today. This is what I was hoping for. I wanted you to really bring it, and you are. And I think everyone else gets to hear you bring it and gets to hear me bring it. So that's what this convergence should be about. It should be,
Amen.
yeah. So come on, let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I wanted to talk a little bit about your thoughts on how to fully embody your divine origin. Um, I've heard you talk about a dreaming God and how it uses the energy of the imagination to dream a construct into existence. I too have always believed that the path to living as your divine origin is made up of, at least in part, and you did touch on that, the energy of imagination. And you might have other ideas there, and I want to hear them. So, and if I'm incorrect in my assumptions about that, then please do correct me. So, the key in utilizing it for the purpose of moving forward, in my opinion, is not only in understanding how it functions, but also to learn the ability to tell the difference between the clarity of the divine path and what divine products of creation are, as far as what the energy of creation is showing you about your path in that moment. As an example, sometimes it's just showing you what's happening in the moment, and it isn't showing you how to get there on your path. Like it's like sitting in your car versus driving it on the freeway. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Or
I am. It's amazing because I've been on this wavelength all day long.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, yeah. Tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them.
Um, uh, so years ago, before I got into writing The World Cult and You, I wrote a little exclusive Substack ebook called "Playing the Magic," and it's how to manifest the reality you desire. And I was looking at the factors, like what you have to do that. How do you actually manifest anything really consciously? And you can apply this certainly to how can you manifest your own transmutation, right? Ultimately, that would be the ultimate thing one would manifest here.
Hmm.
So my idea is that we are all, as I say, and out through the indoor, we are all Imagineers in training in a veil of soul making. And what I mean by that, and I'm riffing off of John Keats, the great English poet. What I mean is that we don't come here as souls. We come here to become souls, to become ensouled.
Mm.
As we do that, we individuate. That is what individuation is. It's becoming yourself. And that forges a soul in this alchemical crucible of a world. The fact that we do that here, or the idea that we do that here, contradicts the idea that we could be coming into a reincarnation trap because there is no reincarnation as it is described.
I'm with you on that one for sure.
All right.
100%.
So there's no soul trap. There's no reincarnation trap. There can't be.
Hmm.
It also helps explain why so many people seem like NPCs or they just can't. I know you have a wonderful new article on your website that goes into how we're living in different realities, really, in this multiversal experiment. And this helps explain why some people aren't in your reality when you've woken up to a higher frequency version of what's possible.
Hmm.
And there's just conversations you could never have with that person. And it helps explain like this NPC like phenomenon that people keep coming back to, even though that's often used in the context of something like a simulation theory, which I don't agree with. I don't think there's anything like a technological simulation going on. What we have is a dream or a series of dreams or different levels of vast dreaming, thus the dreaming God. So the idea is we are here to become ensouled, and if we can become ensouled, meaning we individuate, then we have the possibility to matriculate out of the matrix, to graduate from this schoolroom of hard knocks.
Yes.
That is ultimately what the dreaming God most wants from its children. The dreaming God can learn from anything that happens to any of its projections, and all of us are projections of the dreaming God of this particular experiment.
Hmm.
But it's most proud when it's one of its children, one of its projections, becomes enlightened in the way we were discussing earlier and flies the coop here, leaves the matrix as, guess what? A dreaming God. And
Exactly.
doesn't and no longer needs the parent. Because then a new reality experiment is seeded into existence with you at the center of it, dreaming it into being, using all that power that you've cultivated.
Yes, 100%. 100 freaking percent. Like, I agree with this all the way. Yes.
So in terms of like breaking it down, I know all this sounds, so like uh, unwieldy, and how do we even move in this kind of direction? So I was writing about this today, and I was going back to some of the points that I had made in my little ebook, Playing in the Magic. And the first thing I said was that if you think that like positive thinking is powerful, then you need to try the power of positive feeling,
Mhm.
right? So back in Potentiate Your DNA, I wrote about the power of positive feeling, and I was tying this into epigenetics and how we have the ability to change our own genetic expression by turning genes on and off using our emotions, really. Um, and I said that if, in relation to the power of positive thinking, this Norman Vincent Peale concept that's very logos oriented, very left brainy. I said, if the power of positive thinking were the end all be all, if affirmations and visualizations were the final key to healing, if transforming our reality simply involved adopting the mental attitude of don't worry, be happy, why have such approaches failed to work for so many people?
Mhm.
Myself included. When I was sick, I tried all kinds of things like that. And then I continued, connecting through our heart with our higher self allows us to go beyond using the power of positive thinking in managing our lives epigenetically and begin experimenting as co-creators with the power of positive feeling to master our experience of reality on a far more conscious level. And so today I was remarking that, feeling powers up thought. That's how simple it is. So without emotion behind it, a thought is like a ghost. It just doesn't have power, even though it might be there.
Mhm.
So if you want to take that to the next level and really start playing in the magic, I was thinking about some of Neville Goddard's work, and big fan of what he had to say. And he talked a lot about what I'm calling the power of positive feeling. He wrote The Power of Awareness, and Feeling is the Secret is actually one of the titles of his books. Um, and he taught a whole a couple generations of people to think and feel outside the box of this conditioned reality that we're in. And he said, as you see your world differently, your consciousness changes, thereby changing future events. And he also said, when you cease excusing yourself or anyone for life's experiences and begin to rearrange the structure of your mind, there's thinking, to feel, there's feeling, your desire fulfilled, you are walking on the water.
Yeah.
So, thought and empathy or feeling are indispensable tools in our manifestation toolkit. But the point that I go on to make is that there's an even more consequential factor that's not really emphasized by Goddard when it comes to reality creation. So, you really need to get into this third piece. And I was writing a little section of this newsletter, and I called it Lights, Camera. Can, can you imagine being a movie director giving these instructions?
And
Lights,
everyone's with
camera. And of course you can imagine it, but what film lover would want a movie without any action, right? so 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 if you have the thought and the feeling in place, but omit subsequent willful action, that's like a movie with no movement.
Oh god.
Okay, and I said it's bound to flop at the box office of life. So therefore, we must add genuine imagination-inspired action or activated inspiration, which my term, to the mix of thinking and feeling what we wish to experience. And then we are taking our power and responsibility as creators seriously. And
Mm.
only then does the vast dream in which we, live and breathe, respond without impediments to mirror back to us fully in our reality what we are requesting of it.
Wow, you are sheer fire today. I am so freaking excited right now just to be hearing you spill all this fire.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I
I love
appreciate that.
this. I love
I
this.
mean, I thought if anybody in the world could understand what I have to say about on these subjects, it would be you after reading some of your material. So there you have it.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have a space where I can just muse on some of my thoughts and ideas that I have randomly, and then I just feel like, okay, I got to write about this, and then I post it and hope for the best. So, um but I love how you're, categorizing everything, and you're putting everything that I already believe in and understand into completely different pockets, and it's doing something very interesting to my brain, and I love it. I'm very excited over these types of, the way that you're framing everything. And I think it's really important to frame it in this way as well, because I think it's concepts that people can actually grasp. Because a lot of these types of concepts are very difficult for people to understand, and you're saying it in a way that people can get it, and that's rare. So I'm grateful to be a part of that. Um,
It's interesting because I attended an Ivy League graduate school. I was a big academic for a number of years, and I started out writing with conscious healing and then potentiate your DNA in a much more formal academic style. And as I've gotten more and more into shamanism and inner alchemy, I've gotten more and more casual in my approach to all of that and sort of more loosey goosey on purpose. And I've really embraced the forgetting of a lot of stuff that was just useless intellectual baggage. Like I can't even remember a lot of the things that I used to quote unquote know, or they weren't really no in the GNO sense, but they were no in the KNOW sense.
sure.
So that's
Yeah.
been really, really cool to do, sort of a lifestyle of forgetting, not in a dementia way, but in a very purposeful not doing.
I think that's imperative actually to reach higher states of consciousness, to be able to undo what isn't serving and to create what is. Because, and I'm actually going to get into some of that process or that thought process in a little bit, if we can get to it. Just talking about how creation can only destroy, or it's going to create. So it's energy does one of those two things all the time. And sometimes you get to destroy things in order to recreate things that are more effective. And I think that's part of what you're pointing at here.
Absolutely. It's like you can't go around with all of this heavy emotional and intellectual baggage and expect to learn how to fly. Chesterton said angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. And there is a literal aspect to what he was saying.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. What are your thoughts on bioholography? To my understanding, it's the study of DNA as a holographic fractal phenomenon that doesn't exist anywhere yet exists everywhere. Is that correct? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, in this recent newsletter, I shared a little bit of text from Get Out of Here Alive that speaks to my take on what that is. Um, right now, we have this kind of underground movement of people who are claiming that DNA doesn't exist or it was never isolated and proven. And my point is that nothing has been isolated and proven. Not even you, not even your existence. You can't do it. You can't prove that you exist. I think, therefore I am. I'm sorry. You're always in your little echo chamber. And so the idea that we have some kind of a way of proving anything is a kind of materialistic bias that doesn't have anything to do with the way that our so-called reality is imagined into being constantly. So
Mm.
within this imaginal construct, we have useful ways of looking at the world. And in our current historical era, we have DNA. And maybe we just invented it in the 1950s and that's good enough for me, right? But right now we have that. And so in this shared dream, this organic simulation that we're in, we can look at DNA as a manifestation of a kind of quantum bioholography, as a kind of self-generating hologram. And that's what these dreaming gods are in my model, is they're fractal phenomena that are just self-generating endlessly. So DNA doesn't, in this fractal holographic way, it doesn't exist anywhere, yet it exists everywhere. And that's why there's a scientist named Pacheco who would sterilize the inside of a bottle and just put salt water in it, sterilize materials. And within a little bit of time, these little creatures began to show up under the microscope in it.
Hmm.
How does that even happen? It means that DNA is part of the fabric of reality. It's a waveform. So,
Right.
but what I would like to emphasize is that to me, this isn't real because nothing is. This is merely conceptual scaffolding, and it's a way of looking at the world that makes sense in this tonal, as Castaneda would say, this tonal of the times that we're in. We are in a specific era. There would have been a different era where this would have made no sense to anybody, and it would have never been used as an organizing concept.
Mm-hmm. It never would have.
And that's not to say that those people, let's say a previous time, were somehow less evolved or advanced. They had magic that far surpasses anything that we have in many instances, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably did it because they didn't believe in things like DNA, because all of these scientific concepts, these materialist concepts, are very limiting to the power of the mind.
It is, yeah, exactly. It is. So, not to totally change the subject, but just to get, because there's something I wanted to touch on here. I wanted to know what your thoughts were on personal life challenges and how it supports on the refinement of who you become as a divine construct. I personally feel as though they are necessary challenges. In fact, I believe that the challenge is to overcome once you reach the point where it is no longer rubbing you internally, be it a feeling flattered by a compliment or when something ruffles your feathers. Instead, you'd feel nothing at all. In many ways, I feel as though you can understand your journey by using the discomfort of life as a challenge of personal refinement and voluntarily taking on that challenge as opposed to avoidance, like avoiding the discomfort, diving in intentionally. The thought behind this is that the path of comfort and the path of growth are diametrically opposed and mutually exclusive. Meaning, if you're going to seek that type of growth, you're going to feel uncomfortable ultimately, no matter what happens.
Hmm. My personal experience would suggest there's a lot of there in what you're saying. I got really ill when I was in graduate school, and I was on a certain life path that wasn't my true path. I wasn't individuating or becoming ensouled as I was meant to be, and some aspect of myself, I believe, threw me into a health crisis
Oh my.
that it took a tremendous amount of discomfort and struggle and fear and deprivation to rectify before I was able to rectify it. And in that process, I became a different person.
Mhm.
And I believe to some extent that was the moment I really individuated or began individuating. I think I'm still doing that to some degree, honestly. And the reason I say that that's the case is that I believe when you've fully done it, when you've fully individuated, that the reason nothing ruffles your feathers, the reason a compliment doesn't do the same thing for you anymore, is that you're operating out of a state of agape.
Mm.
And when you're doing that, you have love for everything, but it's not gushy. It's not, you're not trying to save the world. In fact, you may never do anything for anyone except radiate agape love. And that in itself can change everything and everyone around you.
Alchemically.
Alchemically,
Yeah.
but very materially sometimes as well. Like this is how you could touch the hem of the garment and be healed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Agreed. It's amazing. It's fascinating what happens when you can actually formulate intentionally formulate creation at that level, and the different types of changes that you can make in your life, the lives of others. People will see it as miracles, but truly, it's just a natural part of who we are when we become undistorted.
It wasn't an Asimov who said that any and he used technology, but any ability that people don't understand, they will see as magic,
Right.
right? So this is really something that from a higher octave of gnosis, you understand to be the natural progression of your beingness. You can do these things because you are this thing.
Exactly. Oh God, what you said is so important. You can do this thing because you are this thing. You become it. It's no longer an idea or a concept. You become the frequency itself.
You become the frequency, and when you do that, you're radiating that agape, which is not, it's completely, it's a selfless frequency that acknowledges and accepts while being perfectly happy to have boundaries, personal boundaries, and all of that kind of thing. You don't have to be a pushover or try to save the world or feel like you have to please people or anything like that.
Well, no,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have the issues inside of yourself that would cause you to feel the need to be all those things. You would just be.
You would, and you could do things that to an external observer might look odd or strike some people as somehow at odds with this notion of agape. And I take the example, whether it was real, quote unquote, or fictitious, quote unquote, they're the same thing. History is a construct just like everything else. But this moment when Christ goes into the temple and kicks everyone's ass.
Right. And he needs to.
And he needs to, and that was the right thing to do, and he knew it because in this story he was radiating agape, and he knew exactly what it took to change what was happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Well done. Well done. My goodness. This conversation has exceeded my expectations. And it's no, I love it. I love it. I'm
Well, you ask great questions, it kind of sets me up.
Okay, I got one more for you before we close out. Uh if you're up for that.
Sure.
So, when you talk about forming the script and when your own personal script became activated, I teach a similar concept which talks about your own personal scaffolding or iconography. It's in alignment. It's not, there's differences, but they're the same in concept, generally speaking. So I would teach a kind of blueprint that you create of your own consciousness that begins early on and is formed by various factors, including what happens to your neurological system before you turn 7 years old. Anyway, One of the things I wanted to ask you about is your concept to turn trauma into fuel or power to regulate your own life in a way that pushes you forward instead of holds you back. Because energy, like I said before, either destroys or it creates, as it always has something to do. There's no stagnancy in creation or energy, it's always moving in one direction or another. So, choosing for it to create instead of destroy is key when building a life worth living. So, it sounds as though you figured out how to reverse engineer this process. So, instead of destroying, you're creating. And I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on that.
That's a really, really great question. As an artist, as a writer, kind of, you know, born creative in many ways. I feel like I just kind of came in with that juice. I I think all my life I've been practicing what it is to create and to utilize energy and to pull in energy and inspiration from sometimes very quote unquote negative circumstances or experiences. This is what writers do so often.
Hmm.
It ends up being your fuel. I mean, it's not just that your loved one is the muse, it's also that your abusive father is the muse and your alcoholic mother is the muse and your big brother. So, the idea that you can actually take this to the next level was something that dawned on me some time ago, and I've been refining how I work with that, and what I teach and share with people. And that is that you can take your traumas, your negative experiences, and using specific techniques having to do with breathing and visualization, also body work, as in the pragmalchemy that I teach on my website. And you can repurpose all of that energy. You can heal the traumas, not only from your present, but your past, certainly, and even the future or a possible future that you might have energized with your stress and worry about it.
Hmm.
And you can pull all of that into your now. That is truly the power of now. And as you do that, you can take all of that energy, that raw creative power, the power of the imagination, your chi, your kundalini, your prana, your orgone, your scalar, whatever you want to call it, and you can put that down into your Dantian area and pack it away into your philosopher's stone. And then you can use it for any type of creativity, including mundane creativity, but you can also do miracles with it. You can, live longer. You can, go down the longevity path, the alchemical path, and ultimately it's designed to be able to support you in becoming immortal.
Bam. Exactly. That's the mic drop right there. And I'm hoping you're going to tell me that people can learn how to do this in your ebook.
There's a large piece of that in the ebook where I really go into the recapitulation and the inner alchemy techniques is in Get Out of Here Alive. So you have the world cult in you, which is kind of a framework for what the world is and what we're up against. And then in Get Out of Here Alive, I teach a lot of practical things you can do, like digital detoxes, truth or detoxes, simplifying your life, moving your body, dancing, getting your groove back, various things to prepare you for being able to do the kind of shamanic recapitulation and inner alchemy techniques that I teach in the second half of that book. And then in out through the indoor, I go to the next level and I share additional techniques for working with your dream body, working with your energy, and moving forward on that individuation and matriculation path.
Mhm. Well, there you go. And it sounds like everyone gets to definitely get at least those 2, scripts so that they can start putting this into practice for themselves. And, I mean, it
There's not a lot to do. I mean, there's the all of this work actually invites creativity. Once you begin to understand or understand, which I prefer, the basic concepts, you can design your own strategies, your own techniques, your own exercises, your own doings and not doings to achieve similar results.
Absolutely. And I personally teach this type of thing in my practice as well, which is part of the reason why I wanted to hear about how how you do it and what kind of conclusions you came to, because it's very rare for me to come across a person that understands that language and knows how to apply it. So, I was very excited to hear about how you put all this into formulation, and I'm not disappointed. So, thank
Oh,
you for
awesome,
that.
awesome. Yeah, well, my pleasure. Thanks for thinking of me. I really do appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate this opportunity to share and to get to know a little bit more about you and your work, which is really inspiring. And I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from you as time goes by.
Well, I hope that we can learn a lot from each other because it sounds like there's so much information there, and it's going to take me a hot minute to work through all of it because there's so much depth, and for that I'm very grateful. There's not a lot in my life anymore where I feel like I can really dive in and get nerdy with everything, and with everything that you talked about, I'm totally nerding out. So
Oh, that's awesome. Do you want to nerd out with some questions from those who are in attendance?
yeah, let's see if we can get some questions going. Does anyone out there have some questions? Would love to hear from you guys.
And if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, please ask away. Yeah, I know
Okay.
it's for me. It's it's always um, very interesting to create new not doings and new ways of cultivating energy. And some things are so simple, such as just simply observing the fluctuation of your thoughts over the
Mhm.
course of like a little while. And maybe try to do it during the course of like one shower
Right.
and just
Yeah.
relax and watch your thoughts, and you will learn so much and you will actually cultivate energy doing that.
Yes, exactly. I have this thing that happens to me. I've had it ever since I was a kid where I can actually uh see frequency as a construct depending on what's being created in any given situation. So I'll see the shape and the color, which has taught me a lot about how to work with people. Because so as an example, schizophrenics will have very rough frequency, very shardy, very quick, spiky,
Hmm.
and whereas a Zen master will have he'll have less frequency waves, and it will look like the waves of an ocean.
Oh, I love that. That's really
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. So it is a real product when we create. There is something tangible that actually manifests. Not everyone is aware of it, but I can tell you from personal experience that, I've had an opportunity to work with it in a way that actually changes lives. And obviously you have too in so many ways. But maybe not with this concept, but with different concepts that are similar. And it works, it works and it's a real thing. And I love the fact that we're able to create that while we're still alive, while we're still embodied the way that we are. So it's pretty cool.
So someone asked about recapitulation. Does it matter if we lie down or if we lie to create a story that benefits you and does no harm? Does it if matter? I guess it does it matter if we lie? Um, um, I can speak to that, and if you have anything to add,
Yeah.
I welcome that. Absolutely, it doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned what you tell yourself, as long as you decide to believe it. One of the core practices, if I can use that term, of the type of shamanism that most resonates with me is that you, at a certain point in your evolution of consciousness towards these higher frequency levels that we've been talking about, you see that the world is a construct, and you sort of have a choice at that moment of whether to be overwhelmed by it and literally go crazy, or act in the world by using what is called controlled folly. And it's basically just a very serious form of make believe.
Yes, exactly.
So that everything you're doing, you are choosing to believe in. Even includes love and relationships. And it doesn't make them less meaningful if you don't want them to be. If you believe in them, if you believe that you love someone and you're using controlled folly, then you do for the purposes of that interaction in that part of the passion play of your life. So I say do what you need to do.
Mhm. I feel like and I agree with everything you said. I also think that it doesn't matter, uh, because almost everything we understand is an illusion anyway of our own making.
Well said. Well said. Absolutely. This is really hard for people, and I know we've been as a society over the last several years, certainly since the 2020ish, we've been sort of separated into these warring camps, having to do with everything, as if there's a right and a wrong, there's a true and a false, there's a germ and a terrain, there's a this and a that, and really, uh, all of that reifies or makes more quote unquote real this false idea that there is some kind of there to begin with.
Mhm. And there's not.
And there's not. That's a really tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. I get it. Been there, done that. Certainly came from a very left brain mindset in many ways, going back to my academic years. So I understand if that's challenging. It's just the way it is, if you ask me.
I think it challenges people's ideas about, well, it goes into a whole diatribe of, why people feel they need to be right in order to be safe, and that their construct of what they believe in has to be right, and everyone gets to believe in the same thing that they believe in order to feel safe. But the truth is that all of our worlds that we independently have created, none of them are necessarily even close to what's really happening, and and it's okay to let that go.
Mm. Gosh, that's so true. Yeah, it's almost as if we're just we're just dropping all of the projections. I didn't get around to doing this today. I was going to do a little meme, maybe just words, maybe with some kind of images, some kind of image, because I've really been into this idea ever since writing "Get Out of Here Alive" that we one of the operative principles of our social construct is that we use mimetic desire to know to know what to believe in. We don't really have our own belief, but we look to someone that we might admire, like a celebrity. We see what they believe and we adopt that as our own. And this is how the Lord Archon, the demiurge, can just completely lead people around by the nose because it just gives you what to believe in, and then you believe in it, and that power of your belief begins to inform a certain version of reality.
Yeah.
So I was going to do this meme today, and it was going to say, um, "This is a meme. Feel free to project on me. That's what I'm here for."
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Mm, well said. Well said. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, it's I think the power of being able to let everything go, it's almost it feels like death, and I think we spend a lot of time in this lifetime avoiding what death is going to feel like, and we do it in so many different ways, such as staying away from discomfort, just hey, that feels uncomfortable. No, unconsciously, it's leading me closer to death, so I can't even touch that. But the truth is that once you touch that type of void with your consciousness, you begin to understand what life is really about.
Hmm. It reminds me of a Leonard Cohen lyric, and I and touched her perfect. You touched her perfect body with your mind, and it's almost like making contact with the muse, or the muse of transcendence. Maybe death, or symbolically, is that you finally reach that point of connecting with that thing. Um, by conflating with your mind with the object of desire in a way. I'm not making myself entirely clear, but you just sparked something that I'm going to investigate a little further.
No, absolutely. And that's transcendence. That's part of transcendence. That's accurate. So, and that's kind of uh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I've been going through the alchemical aspects of transcendence over the last year, and it's a very painful process. But I don't need to get into that. It is an aspect of transcendence. I think that's just kind of why I brought it up.
So somebody was asking, Ian, hi there, Ian. There was a question that got cut off. A process is, do you have a process for, he says, I just start writing until I hit on something that I can feel has a future from that point. It's up to me to build that future. The story, that is my process when I have nothing. Do you have a process? And Ian, if you're talking about writing, I mean, you know, Shamananda and I are both writers, so I'm sure we have different processes. For me, I used to feel that I had to write even if I didn't have a story, and that was what writers did. They just wrote. You're told to write and just keep writing, and that never worked out particularly well for me, and was actually a big waste of time. As time has gone by, I allow stories to present themselves to me, and they often do that fully formed in my mind in one go. And sometimes these are like long novels that happens with. It's very bizarre. There is an almost holographic 3D thing that gets downloaded into my consciousness, and it has the whole plot. It's bizarre, and that's part of this. For me, it's been part of my curve of learning to become a more powerful creator.
Mm, hmm. That's beautiful.
What about you?
When I write, it's lately, it's truly been about something that hits me in everyday real life, and it's not, and I don't have the type of consciousness anymore where things really hit me. So it's when something does hit me, there's definitely movement there. So I write from a lived space. If I write it, it's because I'm having the experience, and then I feel like I get it down on paper or the computer, I guess. And that's how it flows for me. But the beauty and the artistry that you described, as far like you were describing an aspect of creation that is almost never articulated in the process of gnosis, and and that's the way things begin to really truly organically formulate and alchemize. And I love locking into that type of creativity when I write. It's one of my favorite ways to create new writing or music or painting. I paint as well. So when I am coming from that creative space and I'm throwing it on a canvas, or I'm putting it into words, or I'm creating a song, it's truly coming from that place, and it feels like it's alive.
Mm.
There's an aspect to, it's almost like it's its own creature. You can feel the birth of it, and then it grows into what it wants to be, and it seems to have the entire body there. So as long as you know how to look at the whole thing and you know how to describe it, then you have you have your creation already done.
It's interesting to look at stories as I love that, by the way, all of that, very inspiring. I was going to say it's very interesting to look at stories as like egregores or tulpas, thought forms, almost like servitors that you can bring into reality,
Yes.
and then they take on a life of their own, quite literally in some instances.
Yes. Yeah, and they are they're real creations. They actually do function in that capacity if you know how to create them. And a lot of people create them, they don't even know they're doing it.
Right, you don't have to know these things to be doing what we're saying, because this creation process is simply what we do. It's our imaginative faculty is what makes us special. It's why we are iterations of the dreaming God, because we have that in us. We are gods in training, if you will, dreaming gods in training. So, my ultimate goal is to perfect my dreaming to such an extent that I can go out into the dream space, dreaming awake, and find a physical copy of my new unwritten book and bring it back here and publish it
Oh, I love that.
without ever writing a word.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And it's very possible to do that. And I've personally done that. Uh, I'm I'm a master shaman, and one of the things that I've been able to do from time to time is pull objects out of thin air. I know it sounds like BS, and this is why I don't like talking about this kind of thing, but it is true. It does actually happen, and I'm not going to talk anymore about it because it's almost embarrassing because as soon as you open the door to that, then people start calling you all kinds of things, such as you're full of absolute crap, and I leave it on the shelf and I just say it doesn't matter. But the only reason I bring it up now is because I wanted to say that it does actually happen. You can actually bring physical objects into being from somewhere else, and it can be in the place that you described. It can be from the middle of the ocean. It can be from all kinds of places. It is possible. It does happen.
Well, I agree with you totally. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. I know that this is possible because it's how we all got here.
Exactly. Yes. People think it's magic, but it's not. It's an aspect of our being that if we know how to access it in the right way, it just manifests, and it's natural and it's normal, and it shouldn't be seen as this world is made up of people that desperately want validation, and there's a lot of different reasons why. But you know, if you're being authentic and you're just speaking, the truth of what's happening, sometimes that can if people feel if they have insecurity issues, they might feel lesser than, or there's different reasons why. But the truth is that I'm just being authentic, and everyone should feel safe to do that in this world. Everyone should be able to just, hey, this funny thing happened to me today. And then maybe we would be farther along.
Yes, maybe we would actually be getting somewhere. that's that's great. Um, I wanted to let people know before we close out here that we'll both be putting this recording on our Substacks, so that's where you can find it after this. If you didn't catch the beginning or whatever, you want to share it with other people, please share, please subscribe. um, and just we're still learning and getting used to how Substack works. So there will be some little lag time between the end of this live event and when the file is made available, the video. So you can check back in either later this evening or tomorrow, and it should be there.
Yeah, awesome. And I really want to thank everyone for coming in and listening today. This was my first live on Substack, and I'm so excited that you all decided to join us here, and I'm really grateful. And I hope that I get to talk to all of you. So please, feel free to send me messages and let's have a conversation and get to know each other because this is what I feel like the space is all about. So thank you for joining us. It's such an honor to speak to you all today.
So, as a reminder, your website is shamananda.substack.com.
Yes,
So that's one place where you can find this recording, and then I'm at soulluckman.substack.com. You can find that this recording there as well. And please subscribe to both if you haven't already.
absolutely. Absolutely. I hope we get to do this again. This was a lot of fun and I really had the best time with you. So
Oh,
thank
I
you.
did too. Let's do it. Let's do it sooner rather than later.
Oh, I want to. Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, we get to. Perfect. I
Okay.
love you all. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful and we'll talk soon.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
Bye.